of truth. And I know most people are going to be joining us live very soon. At least we can thank God that we are proceeding and we are moving fine. I think the last episode we had, we have over 2,700 people. So today joining me is our biggest audience, our biggest guests, my big brother, Mr. Olubode Adeola. At least I got it right this time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, it's always a
So
pleasure.
yeah, today's episode I kind of title it. The title I put on the channel is Nigerian protest psychosis, and it's something that has to do with in 1960 there's a disease with people when they were actually fighting for civil rights and the rest of it. There's even a definition of it. You call it a syndrome, which is how psycho. Did they call it schizophrenia? How
Yeah,
schizophrenia became a black disease in by a psychiatrist and cultural critic. They call it Jonathan Mehta. I think that's what it is. That explores how black male participation in activities like the civil rights movement was being used to diagnose them with, I think that's this schizophrenia.
yeah,
That was around
schizophrenia.
1960 and 1970. So we are actually going to be talking about how the syndrome of these protests in Nigeria, what it's like. So let's start with you, first of all. What is protest like within your environment? What are your observations?
Okay, I think the question would be is protest being held in my area, or it's just a situation of normal activity? So I would say the latter, because everybody's moving around with their businesses. Everybody's focusing on what they do for a living, and then so the ambience is relatively normal. I don't think there's protest in the air. Nobody is campaigning. I mean, if I actually talk to someone and say, "Oh, aren't you going out for protest?" They'll be like, "Oh, what's protest?" So I think it's like a certain demography is not aware of the protest, or perhaps it's like they're leaving certain group of persons to the protest. So for this area, it's relatively calm. And I just say probably if some individuals are leaving their houses to the protest ground, it will be just around 10% of those living around the area.
Yeah, because it's kind of very surprising for me when I look into the protest stuff. I think when they made decision they wanted to protest, they said they were going to protest for 10 days. And I don't know if you know the man that they call Isaac Fisayo, something like that, that's on Instagram. And he was part of the people who were clamoring that people should go out for protests. But suddenly, he protested for one day, and then he told the protesters to go back home. That since they've made the protest for one day, the Nigerian government has heard them. Let them give the government 30 days. And I'm like, this is exactly what we were talking about. That was last week, Saturday, when we were pointing out that there is no organized plan on this protest. And right now, when you look at the spirit of the people, the spirit of protest is kind of out of them right now. They don't have the energy to protest. And part of the things that are my observations are like, if we want to talk about protest, we should have looked at history. History should have taught us some things. And part of the things history has taught us is like, let us look at the Igbos, for example, when they were fighting for Biafra, that they want Biafra to be. The way the history narrates, because we're not born then, the winner of the war of anything will be the one that will narrate the story. So, but one of
Yeah.
the things they said was that during the time of protest, the Nigerians, that's the Yorubas and the Hausa. Sorry, let me close this door because of the Yorubas and the Hausas were kind of destroying the farm of the Igbos. So when they started destroying their crops and the rest of it, it wasn't as if we physically dominated them. it was that when they get hungry from hiding, they started surrendering. So if you go through history, you will see that they actually surrendered because of they were going hunger. Hunger was the one that's, and if we even read the Bible and we read all kinds of things, you would see that food is one of the most important things, if you're not careful in war, that people can use to actually fight you. Then when you look at Nigerian today, and we are protesting, we decided we want to protest for 10 days because we are actually hungry.
Yeah.
So if you go out and protest for 1 day, 2 days, and 3 days, who is going to give you food? Have we organized for food? Have we organized what we will use to take care of the people who are going out for protest for 10 days? We did not do
Yeah.
this, but we decided we want to protest for 10 days. And so when you see them protest after 2 days, you can see how everybody begins to go back to their home. So what's your take on it?
Yes, you see, I think it's reminiscent of what we previously said about the lack of, objectivity for the protest. It has always been like that, and if history is supposed to inform any activity, it has to be activities against the government. And I think history has not informed this current protest. It's just a protest that is born out of try to say emotion. Of course, I understand that people are hungry, which is reflective of what is currently happening in the Nigerian society. But at the same time, I've, like someone posted on Twitter, I've not seen a situation where peaceful protest solved anything in Africa. It's usually a thing of violence or, a forceful takeover of the government and all that. So, if they were going to achieve their plans, I think what should have been done was create a much more realistic plan and then work towards implementing that plan. Because at the end of the day, the way I see this protest, when I reflect on the activities I see on social media and the likes, I think the protest is just like a group of people shouting with no proper, what's it called, proper plan on how to make the government accountable for their actions. And then you have seen situations of people getting killed or people being tear gas for protesting. So it's more or less like they are just trying to become victims instead of working towards achieving a specific plan. I mean, if the plan was everybody should go to the local government and then probably sit there and demand for someone to talk to them and all that, I mean that could have been a feasible plan. If the plan was to recall your what's it called, the legislators, that could have been a feasible plan. There are better ways to engage the government, than what we are currently doing. As a matter of fact, the signs are already there. After the signs, the president that we are all protesting against has not said anything since the start of the protest. He has just kept mute and as if nothing is happening in the country. So it's a sign that what we are doing is not even working, and they are probably waiting for the 10 days to be over before they say, "Oh, everybody go back to your house." We say it's 10 days and all that. So I think the organizers, as I've always mentioned, are probably influenced by higher persons in the government. And like I always say, except the protest is organic, it will not achieve anything. But now the protest does not look organic.
Yeah, and funny enough, when you look at lives of Very Dark Man, I was very surprised this morning. He was in the protest ground yesterday. I was even saying, okay, well done. At least he went. He was the only activist I know in Lagos, or is it Abuja, is that
Yeah,
actually went out to protest. And while he was protesting, they poured tear gas in his eyes. And I'm like, that's exactly the reality of when we advocate that people should go out and protest without having a plan for the protest. Funny enough, this morning, he didn't even mention anything about the protest anymore. He started talking about Tonto Dike. He just moved into another story of Tonto Dike and the rest of it, I'm like, ah,
I think you have
I
it
have a
there.
lot of subjects that we could discuss about, but I decided this is the thing that is on ground, and this is what we need to focus on first. We can talk about dating, we can talk about marriage, we can talk about culture and traditions, we can talk about finances, but we have to focus on what actually matters at the moment. So, what kind of activist goes into a battle and the next morning begins to talk about celebrities and the rest of it? What's your view on the other activists that are not participating, and what do you think generally with our activists?
Yeah, like I think what happened to Very Dark Man was something that is expected of the protest. So basically, like when I see videos of protesters being tear gassed, I'm always like, it is expected. These are things that you cannot avoid, because history has taught us that for most countries, whenever protests go on, the protesters are always being tear gas so that they can, go away. So just as a means of dispersing the protesters. So why would you go to that kind of that's part of what we are saying. Why would you go to a protest ground without equipment or tools to sieve you of any potential what's it called, tear gas? So these are the things we are talking about. So pertaining to other activists, I feel other activists are reflective of the status quo, the celebrity status quo. They just talk, it's all mouth, no action. And social media has always been like a window or a barrier that seals us away from the reality. People just come online and say everything that you want to say. We say everything that we want to say, including me. And then when the time comes for the real action, nobody wants to be the victim. So it's like reminiscent of what we tell people, like your heroes are not who you think they are. They are normal humans like you and I. They are just fortunate, or should I say, they're able to attract followers or attract individuals or audience to their space. And because they've attracted audience to their space, they don't mean that they are special or they have a superpower somewhere. It just means that they only have the ability to attract people and maintain that engagement. And so you should not actually even look up to them as a means of inspiration to do whatever you want to do. Any inspiration should come from you, not from them. So, I expect that the activists will not come out, neither would the celebrities, come out to say anything about the protest. Everybody has been saying something, that always been at what's it called, at the back end of their at the what's it called, at the comfort of their phones and all that. So it's expected. Though I really feel sorry about the beggars for a very dark man, but at the same time, I need to probably happen. And then him moving on is what is expected. They will surely move on. That's how Nigeria is. People need to
That's really funny. I think I would
is
just even
of
touch on something also about the Seun Kuti. At least, are you aware of the MOP, Movement of the People, by Seun Kuti?
I think I saw it once, but I don't pay attention to. So you can know that it will not take effect. It's just a thing of social media. But I have a little idea of the what it entails.
Can you debunk it, sir?
And well, I can't debunk it for now.
Okay, it's like the MOP, the Movement of the People, is also like they are trying to create a different political parties. And these particular people are just mainly for the youth. And I wanted to
So
ask, are you aware of any nation that the youths have their own parties?
it does
After
not work.
APC, PDP, and then we have MOP, and the MOP is basically for the youth, and you see them win such things.
I don't think it works for any country. It will always, capsize at the end of the day, and then individuals start claiming victim. I think there's this urge for people to claim victim on social media. I'm really sorry to say, there's this this drive for people to just come online and say, "Oh, the policeman shot me," or "Oh, I was attacked," or "Oh, we were robbed," or "Oh, we were rigged." There is this. I don't know what they accomplish, with such acts or activities. Because for me, it's very very funny. Nobody will do anything if the police shoots you. That is not nothing will happen to the policeman. So
Hmm.
if you expect that, nothing will happen to the policeman, and just at the same time. So people just need to realize that some things don't actually work, and if it will work, you need to still work with the status quo, with the norm. I remember Uganda election. The popular Bobby Wine. Do you know the popular Bobby Wine?
No, I am not aware.
Okay, so Bobby Wine was like the face against their current president Museveni, and then during the last election, he was like the youth candidate, and then there was massive support for him. Everybody was saying, "Oh, Bobby Wine, go there, you will win," and all that. At the end of the day, I think he did not win, and then it's just reflective of a society where if you really put so much investment, oh, this demography, we want to like come up and usurp power, it won't work. So I feel the Sheon Kuti's MOP might or like say will not work.
Yeah. You touched on something earlier when you were discussing. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. You touched on something earlier when you talked about peaceful protest does not achieve anything in Nigeria. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, so when I say peaceful protest do not achieve anything in Nigeria, I'm not saying that people should start engaging in violence or what's it called, start destroying government property, public properties, and the like. I'm only saying that peaceful protest does not work when the right what's it called, parties are not involved. When the stakeholders, the key stakeholders in Nigeria are not involved. When the elites have nothing to lose. If you look at the last protest that actually worked in Nigeria, the last protest that worked in Nigeria dates back to 2012. And what was the protest about? Well, it was about stopping the then president Goodluck Jonathan from removing fuel subsidy. And then there was a merger of both youth want to be political leaders, actual political leaders, celebrities, activists. Everybody came together, and then we all said, no, we don't want an end to the subsidy. And then within a month, the then president backed down from his what's it called, intention to remove the subsidy. That had worked, and moreover, it was really peaceful. There was no killing, no shooting or anything, and that was because there were stakeholders involved. There were prominent Nigerians that had the clout, that were really involved. So if you're going to be having a peaceful protest, it should be something that, like, we keep saying, we have been saying this over and over and again. We've been saying this since, last week, that it has to be planned. It has to involve stakeholders. Like I already suggested, those that voted for Labour Party during the elections and had their representative, get seats at the National Assembly. Why can't you invite those people to be at the front of your protest if truly you voted for them? And it's not until you vote for them, actually. Not until you actually become an active opposition to these individuals. It might really be a situation of begging them to come and cheer such protest. I mean, they have nothing to lose at the end of the day. So there's a need for proper planning, proper engagement, and the need to, include stakeholders to any form of protest before it actually works. But if you say we want peaceful protest where you're just going out to shout and say we are hungry, nobody pays attention. And I finally feel that one of the strategies of the president is that he wants the protest to last for 10 days duration and before coming out to speak. And at the end of the day, to all be, a total waste.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much. Before we proceed, I would like to acknowledge people who are writing, and thank you, Miss D, for giving me $5 again. Thank you for your contribution um, to our progress on this channel. I really appreciate. And Diana IKK, he said that if their family members keep stealing also, like they say, that is normal in Nigeria. Well, I think everybody who wants to contribute to the show, you're welcome. You can write and we are going to be reading it out. But I would like you to give us more context to whatever you write so we can elaborate and add it also to our conversation today. So I appreciate you. We understand that Nigerian, politicians, they do certain things that are not palatable, and our discussion here is just, we have to leave the people who have been writing or saying all kinds of things. And we are, as the youth on ground in Nigeria, we want to see how we can tell ourselves the truth and encourage every other youth to be able to take the right step. And that's what today's episode is about. Now, before we proceed also, you said something like we have to be able to work with the government or the people in power for us to be able to progress in Nigeria. And that's exactly what I have also been touching on. Somebody said something yesterday, and he said that let us look at the life of Kenya and what happened in Kenya and the protest and whatever they've been able to actually achieve. And I'm like, if you look at Nigerian armed forces are one of the best forces when it comes to land, purely. So if you think that whatever happens over Kenya, we can repeat such things in Nigeria and we can make the change, we must be willing for something else. We must be ready for something else. And I was saying something that somebody like kuti and the rest of it, who are always talking about against the government and the rest of it. I am also against the government in many ways that they do, their attitude towards the people. But I am like, at least all the method we have been applying to protest against the government, we have not been successful in it. Are we not supposed to question and ask ourselves, what other approach can we take? And for me, I was saying that at least we can learn from those people who colonized us. When the British and the Europeans came, they did not just enter and start invading Nigerians. They came as a friend. And when they came as a friend, they were able to know certain people they could recruit, certain leaders they could recruit on their side, and it was very easy for them to overcome the whole country. So why don't we even implement things like that? Like Nigerian youth going into political parties, the most educated ones going into political parties, so we can recruit these individuals for them to be our paddy, and at the end of the day, we will be able to also penetrate the government. So whenever we make a decision we want to protest, we are already on ground with everything that is working in the system. So that was, I'm saying, rather than us being an enemy to our Nigerian government, why not we become a friend to be able to penetrate the system, and then we can make something work? What's your view on it, sir?
Yeah, I was even going to cut you because I want to say, this is actually reflective of the weakness in the Nigerian system. This idea has always been like, a go-to plan or agenda for a working system or a system that of educated individuals. You don't just think you can change a system without infiltrating through the system, without slowly making that change, those changes that you want. You understand? Like, there's this theorist. His name is Cotter. He say he believe that before changes can be implemented, it goes through a four stage process. So the Nigerian, the average Nigerian, I feel is what needs to be, what's it called, changed before we even think of this plan. This plan is actually a very good plan, but the mentality of the average Nigerian is what needs to be changed. Because at the end of the day, we ask ourselves, we have started this process of, putting our presence into power. Look at those ones that are in Labour Party, for instance. Those ones that want tickets to the Labour, what's it called, using the Labour Party platform. If are you telling me that those ones too, they've also been corrupted by the system, or are they not even are they not independent to the extent that they can fight the system from within? So I feel, this plan is really a good plan, but at the same time, until the average Nigerian considers the other Nigerian, that's when such plan can work. The average Nigerian now only cares for himself, his family, and worst case, what's it called, his community. After that, they don't care about the broader Nigerian context. So, putting someone there, for instance, and you expect, oh, this person will, remember us, he will fight for us from within, and then we are able to like add more people and all that. Just realize that when the person gets there, the person gets corrupt, and then before you know, you have lost the person. There's this what's it called? Is he a House of Rep member or senator? Right? But it's a very popular one. He owns I think he owns Naira Bet. Do you know him? Do you know Naira Bet? He's currently
Naira Bet, no, but I think I know Bet Niger and Bet King.
so his name is
Okocha is that.
Alabi. Is it Akin Alabi or something like that? Oloyi Alabi or
Mm.
something like that. This man, I remember after school, I went for his event. He had an event on the island, when he was talking about youth representation in politics, the fact that we need more youth in politics and that we cannot fight them, just being idle and nonchalant about it. And I was impressed. I was like, wow, I'm going to join the political party because I was really impressed. They called so many celebrities. They called the likes of DJ Kupi. So many celebrities were there. They were all giving us, powerful speeches, motivational speeches. And lo and behold, this man has, I think he has spent, this is the second time, he has spent a time, and this is the second time. I can't really pinpoint what this man has done to his community, except from, guerrilla projects. I'm being positive. Except from project that you just see that, probably all this project that they'll do bridge or, community project of giving some people laptop, giving some people and all that. So it's just reflective of if someone like that can enter there and then comes out and is still not influential. When I say influential, not trying to change the system with a much more recognized need, then it becomes a problem of the Nigerian. We keep clamoring for change. And someone was talking to me this afternoon, and I want to buy something. The woman appeared to be someone that is, maybe should I say semi-literate. And I was asking her that, ma, are you not going to protest? Or is not the, she said that no, protest can never be the best thing. She was telling me that those that are protesting, that they'll probably call one of them and give one of them money, or some of them might even make so much from the protest and then abandon the rest. That the protest will not achieve anything. That instead we should probably just all of us should probably stay at home and then the government can hear us. What I feel from that woman's point was the fact that Nigerians love to sell themselves. Like the average Nigerian can sell other Nigerians just for their personal gain. So the Nigerian needs to change the mentality, and until we have that mentality that, oh, whenever I'm in a public position, I'm not doing things just for myself. I'm doing things for the betterment of the of my society, of my community, and Nigeria at large. That is when we can actually have, change. So even if you keep fighting from today to tomorrow, I'm very sure that whoever we see elect there will get there and misbehave. So the orientation, the first thing we need to do is the education and the changing of the orientation. People need to take active process in educating themselves, not just others, themselves. Like, talk to yourself, bro. When you get to that seat, if you get to that seat, what would you do? You understand? So people need to have that mentality before we can actually start putting people in places that can enforce change that we desire.
All right, thank you very much. Before we proceed, again, I have to read what Diana IKK says. He said we have to learn to stop stealing. For those of us who are joining, please subscribe to the channel, like and share. We have over 25 or 24 people joining us live right now. Please, you can like, you can subscribe, and you can share also for other people to engage in the conversation. Now, what he actually spotted on was exactly what I was about to go into, which is we have to learn to stop stealing. Were you aware of what actually happened in the Kaduna area with their vandalizing of things and
Yeah,
stealing things from destroying the government's property, breaking into their places and burning police stations and the rest of it? Are you aware of it?
yes, I was aware of it. I think it happened during the first day of the protest, and then it was like riot. So I was like, probably what Tinubu was scared of. That was why he was trying to stop the protest and all that. But at the same time, I took a step back to think through these issues of looting during protests, and I think of the NSAS protest, and I think and I highly try to conclude that it's like the same script that played out. So I'm not saying that it's all what's it called, those that looted did the right thing. I'm only trying to say that there's the possibility that it was actually government sponsored. I'm trying to say it's only a
Is
possibility that
government?
it was,
You said what?
I think I feel there's a probability that it is government sponsored. I'm trying to say it's just a probability. And these are because it's a script that played out during the NSAS protest, where people just ran to different stores and then looted the stores. And then we realized that government give certain persons leeway to engage in such acts. And so it's still like the tactics of the government to always deploy stringent means to stop protests. Like what happened after that, I think what happened was the declaration of the curfew to stop people from coming out and doing all sorts of things. So you know one thing I realized about protests is that governments are how would I describe it now, they have the monopoly of violence. They have the monopoly of engaging in brutal attacks against citizens or those that want to create chaos. So things don't just happen out of the ordinary. Nigeria is not Libya or Egypt where people don't care about anything they do and whatever they can actually stop the system and all that. Nigeria is Nigeria, and I mean the government can actually stop that, could have actually stopped that if they wanted. So I'm kind of skeptical about the demography of people that engaged in that act, and I would say it's like a combination of normal citizens and government sponsored thugs.
Yeah.
That these are
For
mere speculations.
Yeah, yeah. For me also, the moment you said it, I was also considering certain factors about that particular Kaduna stuff. And like you said, that it could be the government sponsored. But when I look at them, the reason why I could guess, or maybe I would be skeptical about it, is basically because Why is it that when the people are destroying all those properties, where are all the law enforcement? We could
Exactly.
not even see
That,
one law
that, that's where the
enforcement.
sponsorship comes in. That's where the sponsorship comes in, actually, because during the NSAS protest, it happened that way. Throughout like about 3 days, all law enforcement agencies stopped working. I mean, Lagos was like a mini chaos. Like if any driving, everywhere was like jam packed. The whole last one stopped working. Police stopped working. People were robbing. So you understand? So it's not like the officers left their station to some places. I mean, this is government house for crying out loud. It should be protected 24/7. So how
Yes.
come the law enforcement agencies just disappear overnight and then they allow people to loot? Sometimes these things are planned, they are premeditated, and then individuals will just use an opportunity to come and loot. So, like for example, I'm listening to say, in about 70% that you see on the media are actually lies or scripted. So there are other, there are twists to these stories, and there are things that the media wants you to believe. So you actually have to choose what you need to believe, and silver the rest. So I said you take critical thought or critical or take ask critical questions before you really make sense of this. Otherwise, they make no sense.
Yeah. Like you touched on the aspect of this. Looking at it, first of all, I think I would say I was being skeptical just because the police and the army and no military force is in the government property. In the police station, nobody was there. And they actually withdraw all the police force. How could it be Kaduna of all people? Why is it that there is no police in that particular premises? And they are not even throwing tear gas to the people who are vandalizing the government property. And we already understand that Kaduna, most of the northerners, a lot of them are believers. And if perhaps the government can penetrate into their religious leader, trust me, they are believers. They have mental acceptance. And whatever their leader says, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And so I also have a question to this particular stuff. I think there's a responsibility on both sides of the elderly people in Nigeria and of the youth. Now, when I look at the youth, we might call ourselves the future of tomorrow's leader, but what happens to the teenagers? Because of this protest of a thing, we can see that teenagers are participating in the protests. Who should be responsible for this? Should it be the youths who are allowing this? Because we called for the protest. The youth called for the protest. And now we are seeing teenagers, you are going to see children of 11 years, 13 years, vandalizing and stealing bag of rice, stealing red oil, doing a lot of things. Do you think it is the responsibility of the youths to protect our teenagers instead of showing them this lifestyle that we are actually living when protesting? Or do you think it is the responsibility of the elders? What's your take on it, sir?
Yeah, yes. So I believe that everyone has their what's it called has to take responsibility for what is right and the entire process. So basically, um, if you look at the elders in Nigeria and the thought process of the average Nigerian, that is of the older demography, you realize that I think some of them are highly giving up on the Nigerian cause. Like they're like, oh, they have seen it all, and whatever happens happens. At the other end of the spectrum, we have young emerging youth, which we can call teenagers, and these ones are seeing the reality and are probably scared that if things continue this way, there's a possibility that they will lose out of what they should have benefited from such of this kind of protest. So probably that's a potential reason for them to join this protest. At the same time, if you actually consider the youth, I don't think the youth actually care about either of these demography. That is, those are the older demography and then the younger ones. It's more or less like, oh, they are after what they can gain as soon as possible. So I think is a situation of the parents of these teenagers taking responsibility. I mean, why should your child be out there protesting? I remember during the end fuel subsidy protest in 2012, a child died in my street. I think it was a national news, and it was not like the child was out there protesting. The child was, I think the child was you know, a child like a fellow teenager. That was about 2012, and then I think he came to fetch water and stuff. And he was going back home. You know, I think he joined some boys that were playing football, and then people were passing, and then they shot. They shot at the shot at the floor, and then he died. So it's a situation of parents need to, you know, safeguard their children. Of course, their children are really having what's it called, holidays now, and you know it doesn't make any sense for these kids to be at the protest ground engaging in any form of protest. But at the same time, I still want to blame social media for certain activities. And what are they? You know, I think you see a situation of somebody coming out to say, "Oh, my child has not eaten for the past 3 days," and then you know the rest of the what's it called herd. I think we call them herd. In psychology, we believe that when groups of individuals are headed toward the same direction, it should be called herd, like HERD, like a mob. So they are all thinking the same way. No, so the herd would see such posts and be like, "Oh, let's help this child," and then they will contribute, and then they will, you know, realize some cash, and then they will give it to the parents, and then they'll say, "Oh, take care of your child." You know, so people, I think people are not like motivated to do such. So now you see young teenagers out there protesting because they also want clout. They want someone to just, you know, record them and say, "Oh, Nigeria is bad. Nigeria is this." And somebody will just put them online and then, you know, save them and all that. But it's very wrong. You know, at the fall, at the one area of which I will blame the youth will be, you know, in engaging these teenagers, or encouraging them to join the protest. They should have probably sent them home like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Go back home. Being your parents, not you should be here," and all that. So it's like a fault of, you know, the three different demography, and if things are not uh, well done, you know, I think the teenagers might actually be worse than what we currently have in terms of coming out to protest without action or without plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we dive into other things, I would even want to broaden this particular subject a little bit. Let me quickly read what is being written on the platform. Mr. Mind Musa Relax, he says that the looters in government positions are adamant not to repent and do the right things for Nigeria. And Kani says lots of riots, and that's true. And Diana IKS says, KKS says that 10, 11 years stealing rice out of protest. That's rice, the same rice we eat. That the purpose of it is hunger. The reason why people are protesting is hunger. And I don't know, my own take is this. I don't know how you are protesting because of hunger, and at the end of the day, you think that stealing is the solution to hunger, because now if you had stolen things and you keep those things with you, how long can those things actually sustain you? The government are
Like,
still going to be in power. You have not been able to dialogue with them. You have not been able to find solution. You're just looking for the short-term solution. I think that we are all responsible for certain things. Yes, for sure, we can say that the governments are this and the governments are that. Yes, they are not. They are not. They are not logical, or they don't have the interest of the people in their mind. But when I look at this situation of teenagers coming into the protest ground, I think that it is because of the Nigerian activists and the Nigerian youth failing their parts to talk to the teenagers. We think that the elderly people We think that they are not responsible. We think that they have no interest and they are always corrupt. But we have the opportunity to show the teenagers how to move. Because tomorrow, we are going to be in that position of power. This youthful age right now, we are going to be in the position of power tomorrow. But right now that we are protesting, what are we showing to the teenagers right now? So that means that whenever we see governments who are actually doing things that are not favoring the people, or whenever they think about protesting, because there's always going to be issues. So we are training them to say that it is a normal thing to vandalize property. It is a normal thing to destroy things. I think we have that responsibility to have organized ourselves and say that from this age of maybe 18 to the age of 40, if you are not between this age, you are not supposed to be in the protest ground. Rather than us accepting even children. And it was even surprising, a particular woman who was protesting, I think about the first day of the protest, carried a young baby into the protest ground. And then when they threw the tear gas, she started screaming, the police have killed my child, and all of that. Who should be responsible for that? So it's like we are not considering a lot of things when we make a decision to take certain steps. We just ignorantly jump whenever situations we feel like we are supposed to address something without adding a lot of logic behind it. That's how I view it. Is there anything you think also regarding this particular subject that maybe I am focusing more on the youth? The youth should be responsible for the teenagers also. Yes, we understand that they have parents and their parents has failed them. In fact, many parents in Nigeria has failed us. But we, the youth, at least we are in a technology age. At least we are in the age of information. At least we are being educated about a lot of things. Shouldn't we have used this opportunity of the information we can share to know that whatever we are accepting right now, or whatever we are spreading right now, is going to trickle down to the teenagers, and we should also find a way to protect them rather than allowing them to come around and perform all this magic of stealing and the rest of it. What's your take on it, sir, before we move to the next one?
Yeah, exactly. I share the same belief because it's actually wrong for a child that is still developing to engage in such acts. You know, what if the child a child dies during the protest? The only thing you say is, hey, the police has killed. I think it still boils down to the urge for Nigerians to play victim for all situations. You get shot by the police and like, hey, I got shot. Or you get tear gas and you're like, see, police are tear gas and all that. I mean, these are you don't take actions without looking at antecedents or things that are potentially going to happen if you take such actions. Otherwise, it's like you asking to get different results when you are doing the same thing over and over again. So the teenagers should be excused from this kind of protest. Now you are fighting for their right as it's really fine. There's nothing bad there, but including these individuals, makes things worse. I mean, if we don't get it right during this generation, I think the next generation might not also get it right. But the next generation can look at what we are failing to do or our weaknesses, and then use that as an opportunity to improve on what is to be done. Because the reality is, the way I say the end of this protest is at the end of the 10 days, or probably the day 8 or day 9, they will probably have police shooting directly at citizens. And then everybody start shouting, hey, they killed me, they killed the people, so and so people. And then we have soldiers come and take charge of the environment, and then the president will now come and say, my fellow Nigerians, some people try to hijack the government. We took care of the situation, and then we are talking about the hunger issues and all sorts of things. That's the way I interpret the whole thing because it's not planned. For instance, if we really wanted to protest, this a better way to would have been, or a better time to protest would have been during the what's it called, after the election. You know, there were signs that this election was rigged, and INEC played a what's it called, a field judge or a field referee during the election. I mean, how can you shut down beavers or the process of voters during the election and say that election is, that was the time we should have, come out to like protest and say, oh, we must conduct a new election. So that's what we are talking about. That at that time there was a purpose. And I think that's currently happening in Venezuela now. Venezuela are actually protesting against the proceedings of their election. And it's working. They are receiving backing from international, from government. Unlike Nigeria, where we don't, I don't think other countries know what we're fighting for. Talk less of the teenagers.
Are
Are
you
you
there,
there?
sir? Yes,
Yeah,
I
I'm here.
am. Okay. Let us quickly read what they say, and this would probably lead us to the next subject, which is Steve Dondada. He says that if you're still believing in one Nigeria, that means you will never wake up from your sleep. And he said, All hail Biafra. And Diana IKK also said 100%. Maybe he agrees with what Steve Dondada is saying, or probably he agrees with what we are saying. I don't know. Um, Steve Dondada also said Germany pay each child 250 euro monthly for good 18 years. He also said Nigerian constitution, Islamic Sharia law in some parts, una sure say una well at all, Nigerians. And then he said, that Steve Dondada also said, if you like protest for 1 year, Fulani INEC will win last. And Diana says that they don't do that to their parents, can't put all the blame on governments. Okay, yes. Diana is actually saying that we can't put all the blame on the government. The parents also should have been held accountable for allowing their children to be part of the protest. I think that's what he's saying. And Don Dada says, guy, come abroad and enjoy your life. Forget about that evil Islamic Sharia law. Uh, and he said, zoo. Well, what I would say is this to Steve Don Dada. Whenever we make a decisions to discuss about these things, we have the opportunity to talk about any other thing. But we are concerned about the country. We are concerned. Regardless, let us even assume Nigeria does not exist. One thing that surely exists is Africa. Because if we remove the title of Nigeria, we are left being an African people. And if we can't model the way we are acting right now, regardless of what we are going through, we know things are hard, but if we can inform ourselves and have a lot of knowledge, I think we can actually free things. We can make our country better, or we can make Africa as a whole better. Because the same Nigeria you're talking about, we still have certain characters and we move to other countries and we show exactly who we are. When we go to other places, people say these are Nigerians. If we don't start telling ourselves the truth, knowing our own faults, reflecting and taking certain steps, we will destroy the nation and then we will be part of another nation and then we still continue this particular pattern over and over again. So I don't think that is a way. And I think whenever you want to talk, we are a little bit intellectual. We are not just jumping from streets to just come and have conversations here. So you need to put some of your things in a better place. You said we should come to enjoy our life in what do you call it, in abroad or something like that, and we should leave our country. It's good that you are there. We are happy if our brother is doing well. We are happy for you succeeding wherever you find yourself, but not all of us have the interest of leaving Nigeria. I have the opportunity to have left this country long time ago, but I love the country. Why? It is my root. It is where I came from. It
Are you there? Okay.
So one
I
of
think
these
the
days, I believe if you are in any other country, I believe whatever you're thinking that you are in every other country and you have become a citizen in that country, I pray you also would not wake up from the reality that you came from a particular route. Because most Nigerians who travel outside country, some of them always forget the fact that no matter the time you are enjoying yourself over there, that's not your roots. They would remind you where you came from one day or the
your
other.
camera is
What are you
off.
thinking about it?
Your camera is off. It's switched off. I can't see you.
My camera is on.
Okay.
Can you see me
Okay.
now?
Yeah, I can see you now, but you just need to move. I think you
Okay.
just stopped.
So,
Yeah.
so the next question is this. I understand what Steve Dunn that I was talking about. You know, probably I think it might be an Igbo because he was talking about the Biafra. So let us ask ourselves a question. We can see the characters of the Igbos or their attitudes towards the approach of this protest. What do you think about it? Because we can see them eating, you know, staying away from the protest. And there are many things that should make them stay away from the protest. What are your takes on the Igbos?
Yeah, I think the Igbos have actually adopted the right approach to the events happening in Nigeria. This group of individuals have always been marginalized, in every way in Nigeria. I think right, right from the independence, the Igbos have always been, like separated from, engaging in governmental duties and all that. And the worst cases, whenever there is any form of riot or protest, the Igbos are like the weakest link or the scapegoats, the go-to in terms of looking for who to blame for the reasons behind the protest. So I think them choosing to opt out of protesting, I think is like the best strategy. It's like I'm trying to say like that are actually acting as we told you so, and well, I feel it will work in terms of I'm avoiding bloodshed by the Nigerian government. So at the same time, I feel they should, in a way, still um, give out what's it called, or say something, about the situation, and not like they'll just keep mute and just engage in enjoyment like you pointed out. So but for me it's a good strategy because at the end of the day people are always looking to blame the Igbos for any protest in Nigeria, and then you find that these demographics are the ones that have been attacked at the slightest protest in Nigeria. So I think it's a good one.
Yeah. For me, yeah, Mr. Steve Dunn, Dada, let me just make it clear. I'm a Yoruba, but I am not tribalistic in the way I view things. I think Mr. Olabode Adeola is also a Yoruba. uh But we see things for what they are, and our belief is that the Igbos are not being treated fairly. These three tribes make Nigeria: the Yoruba, the Igbo, and the Hausas. But unfortunately, the reality has been that the Igbos have been oppressed, regardless of their success in the country. But we are not supporting it. Some of us can see the real things that is actually going on. I don't know if it is possible for Biafra to have their country like they say. Should they? I think we are one Nigerians. We would have loved us to be together. But at the end of the day, certain people have their belief system and they would actually go with it. But when we look at the protest of what is actually going on with the Igbos, it is realistic that they have to stay out of the protests. Because when I was watching the protest yesterday, I realized that there was a lady who was actually complaining. This lady is a Yoruba, but she looks like an Igbo lady. And she also went to protest to fight for her rights. And she said that certain people started chasing her from the protest ground. That they say, you Igbo, waiting you they find for here. and she is actually a Yoruba. And she's saying, what if I am an Igbo person? Why would you be chasing me out of protest? Don't Igbos have the right to be part of this protest? Why are we being so tribalistic? So it's a very painful thing that when we look at Nigerian youths, the way we still act right now, we are even acting, sometimes I think we are acting worse than even the Tinubus and the governors that we are having right now. Because these people are even stealing money economically. They are just stealing our money and the rest of it. But we are looking at ourselves, the youth, as each other's enemy. And what happens if we find ourselves in the position of power? What will we do to each other? So it's not all making sense at the end of the day. Before we proceed on the next thing, let me just read out what certain people have spoken about. Livingstone Joseph, he said, you are concretely right. He says Nigerians need to accept their faults, generated, consolidated, and promoted since independence to this day. Steve Dondada says Biafran boy. Sorry, I'm not. And he talks about releasing Nnamdi Kalu. This guy, that man has been there for a while, for a very long time. I think we should have found a middle ground. He said, what else do you want Nigeria want from we Biafrans? You have every right to ask that question. And then he said, please take your one evil Islamic Sharia law and blah, blah, blah. Go look the old world map before British came. You will see Yoruba country written clearly on it. Do you research? It says that Freedom Trade says that it is a sorry state Nigerians find themselves, the country have been captured. Steve Dondada say, I speak Yoruba better than Igbo. Eko ni baje. He said, listen, my brother. Okay, I might not be able to read everything that I'm saying, but somebody says, Stixie, he says, I'm Jamaican and I stand with you guys. I love the motherland. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. So even somebody from outside countries knows the importance of we fighting for our nation. This is somebody from Jamaica telling us that he loves motherland. There is nothing like it. You see people moving out of the country, wandering from one country to another. After a period of time, you are working in a particular country and you say that they have certain constitution and the rest of it, and you are not satisfied with it. And then you want to move to the next country. You want to move to the next country. At the end of the day, you just become a missing person. And the people who will pay the price mostly is not you. It is your children. It is your children. Because if you travel to another country, from one country to another, and your children are being born there, imagine your children not even know their country, where they come from. Perhaps they want to come to Nigeria. How would Nigeria treat them? How would Nigeria see them? So we have to be realistic on, we have to make the country work. If perhaps it is possible for the country to be separated, if it has to come to that, we most likely might come to that understanding. But we don't need to burn the nation down just because we want to get the message across. We can still make things work peacefully, and that is our logic behind it. So the next thing I'm going to be touching on, for those of us who are actually online right now, please, if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe to the channel. We have over 60 people on live joining us right now. Most people have not liked. I don't know what I did to you guys, but please like and subscribe and share. We would appreciate it as it helps the algorithm. Let us talk on the statement of this man, Dapo Abiodun, is the Ogun State governor. He made a statement in an interview with I think Sheung, and he made a statement saying that Nigerians are so losers, and he talked about Lagos protest and the rest of it. When you look at the whole statement he makes, please, what is your take? And let me paraphrase what he has said. He said that Nigerians are the ones who voted for what did they call his name, Tinubu. And he said, what we should have done is to wait for the next 4 years. And after 4 years, we can elect, not that we are going to remove that person in power. Because for me, objectively, what I am looking at is, if we can remove the president from power, then it will be easy for us to remove governors and senators. if we allow this. And at the end of the day, who would want to be on a seat that you know that any single time your people can just remove you? It looks like we are not creating a reliable system. And that was the kind of perspective I think is coming from. But what do you think about those statements he make?
Yeah, so it's like I would say it is reflective of the perceptions of the politicians, the Nigerian politicians about Nigerians. You know, the few Nigerians are people that you can only speak to anyhow. They will just react. They will say whatever they like, and then they will move on. So that is why he's able to say such words as Nigerians are so losers. And I think they always have this strong belief that if you are dissatisfied, just wait for another 2 to 3 4 years, and then you can re-elect the person that's currently there, or you kick the person out. And that is because they have this strong confidence about INEC, doing their bid and all that. So basically, I would just say I can't blame him for such statement. And it's more or less like what a typical Nigerian governor would say, about the citizens, not being sympathetic or just saying things out of context, not being sympathetic to the Nigerian situation, or always thinking that when people are crying out loud about the problems that they are facing, it's more or less like a political outcry and not that they really mean it. So it's just what I would have expected him to say, unfortunately. But what I'll just keep reiterating is that, see, if you look at it critically, if you say Tinubu, for instance, rigged the election, or he rigged himself into power, my own question is the person that signed the paper that yes, what's it called? Tinubu has been elected as president of Nigeria, or any governor has been elected the governor of the state. It's not Tinubu himself, neither is it the governor. It's probably just a Nigerian, just like you and I, that signed that, without thinking of the repercussions or the implication of such action. So Tinubu did not rig any election. The person that rigged, if the election was rigged, he was not the one that rigged the election. It was somebody that just signed the paper and all that, and then they announced him as president. So basically, the average Nigerian have to realize that, see, it's your word against theirs. It's not a situation of you coming out to play victim all the time and say yes, they rig the election and there's nothing you can do about it. See, these people have their perception of who Nigerians are, and it's more or less like we are always confirming their biases. We're always confirming their assumptions about who we are as individuals. So basically, we need to reorientate ourselves. People need to think for Nigeria and not just for themselves. They need to look beyond their profits, their immediate gains. I mean, how much would you be paid to rig an election, for crying out loud? You can't be paid more than 1 million naira. That is if you are at the local level to rig an election. You can't be paid more than 10 million naira to rig an election at the local government level. You can't be paid more than 100 million naira to rig an election, probably at state level. I don't know how much they pay them. So these are like monies that you can finish within a day or two. I mean, if you are paid 1 million naira to rig election at the local government level, you can hardly finish that money just buying a bottle of alcohol at the club, and then the money has finished. But so people need to look beyond, their what's it called, their basic needs, or those things that give them pleasure, before they make certain decisions that will affect not just them, but the society at large. So him coming out to say those things is because he knows Nigerians. He knows that Nigerians will just come and talk, and they'll all what we do is we talk and we make no actions or plans to solve this problem. I mean, for kind out loud, someone like um, Dapo Abiodun shouldn't even be a governor in the first place if Nigeria was the same country. I mean, if someone that was convicted of fraud and he accepted that he was convicted of fraud. I mean, for some of us that have applied to schools abroad, one of the questions they will ask us is, have you ever been convicted of any crime? And if you clicked yes, the possibility that they will not give you the admission, talk less of giving you visa to come to their country. But we are having a reverse situation in Nigeria where we are able to accept this individual. And the reality is this: if you have a Nigerian like you and I does not accept these people, there wouldn't be where they are in the first place. So the having Nigerian mentality needs to change. You have to stop giving them clout. You have to stop, thinking, what's it called, giving them attention or seeking to get what we need from them before we can actually enforce change.
All right.
Are you there?
Thank you very much. I have to move back outside because I want to be close to the network so I can see you clearly, and
Okay.
my phone would not give me issues because our power kind of went off a little bit. So
Oh,
let me go back to what people have written. Part of the things that Steve Dondada says is that Yoruba ti di Eru Fulani under one Nigeria. And then he says, go to Ilora, Agba, Ishagamu, and the rest of it. Yoruba farmers are crying. He also talked about, okay, go and bring back our girls, one Nigerians. Steve Dondada have been requesting a lot of things. We don't even know what he wants. He has been talking about all kinds of stuff. Are you there, Mr. Olubode?
yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, your camera now looks stiff, but it's fine. I can see you now. He said we should go and bring back our girls. He talked about Ishagamu. He talks about all the problem. What I would have pleaded with Mr. Steve Dondada is that if it is possible for you to give us logical solutions that we can even start implementing or we can start discussing about so that it will shrink down to all the youth and all the elderly people. Maybe we can think properly rather than us just complaining and complaining and complaining about the situation. Everything you have pointed out are true. Everything you are saying is true about the country, but we need solutions. So while you talk about the problem, we would have appreciate if you also bring out solutions and we can all rub minds together. So I appreciate everything you have been writing about. And people are just writing some things that we cannot even read out. Go to Yoruba farmers, blah blah blah, and this. Okay, na songo them go use curse you. Well, first of all, Steve Dondada, this is the reason why you are being emotional in everything you're discussing about, and it doesn't make sense. Like I'm in Ogun State currently, and I am not far from Shagamu. So I am from Ondo originally. I'm from Ondo State, and I've been in Lagos for many years in my life. And not quite long, I moved to Ogun State, and I've been in Ogun State for over 7 years or 6 years or so. So you might be getting many things wrong. And in fact, in this same Ogun State we are talking about, there are Igbos, many Igbos who have invested in this particular area. So we have to be, most of the things a lot of people who are in diaspora, what they hear about Nigeria is not really true. Yes, there are the realistic parts that certain things are going on, but you thinking that we are so divided in that way, maybe not as real as you think. I think on the political ground, that is where we are divided. But Nigerians will not look at an Igbo and automatically start criticizing them. And Igbos will not look at Yoruba and automatically criticize. But when it gets to politics, that's when we always have issues. So you have to educate yourself about certain things in the country. So that will lead us to the next thing that we are probably going to be touching on before we round up for now. What do you think is actually going on the media? Do you think the media is actually helping us in this protest? Or what do you think is the importance of the media people in maybe spreading or covering this stuff? Remember, before you proceed, the day the protest began, I decided to speak with you, and we have serious network issues. And then I made some calls and I confirmed that there was something going on the ground so that people that are protesting would not be able to record and do live videos and spread it to the world. But there are certain people who are media personnel or who are covering with media. What do you think is the importance of them covering it? And do you think it has any effect spreading this message across? Hello, are you there? Hello, are you there? Mr. Adeola Olubode, it seems he's not here right now. We're about to talk about the network issues, but I think he's actually having the network issue. I would like to wait. I don't like to waste people's time. Let's give him some time to see what's actually going on. Let me see if I can chat him up so he can come. Okay, he will be joining us soon. Sorry, let us take this moment for those of us who are just joining also. Please do subscribe to the channel, like, share. I would appreciate it. Please, if you are joining, subscribe, like, and share while we continue this conversation. And if you have anything you actually want to write or any question you want to put or any contribution, you are welcome. You're welcome. So thank you very much for coming back. Yeah. So I was asking a question. What are the importance of the media coverage? Thank you, Jomonic John, for subscribing. Thank you very much. I was asking a question regarding the media coverage.
The media basically.
Yes. Yeah. And I said, I was reminding that on the day of the protest, you and I, we are having conversation and the network was actually having issue. And I had to make some call and I realized certain things were being played so that certain people will not be able to video and put it out to the world. What is your take on the media? Do you think it's having any positive impact on the protest, or do you just think that everybody is just catching clouds and we are just talking about something that is not making any change?
So unfortunately, I think I will agree with the later that everybody just trying to get clout, attraction to their space, and then we are just just like a jamboree, no progress whatsoever from what the media has been reporting so far. So basically it still revolves around the media reporting for government news, and what's it called, extrapolating things that the government wants the public to see. And I strongly believe part of conspiracy theories is that I strongly believe that the media is like a psyop in the sense that it's like a form of psychological warfare against the people, where they promote news and propaganda just to make people feel somehow, or just drive the what's it called, the emotions or the attitude of people towards particular events. I mean, all the news that have been saying now on sites like what's it called, channels and maybe TV stations, predominantly on whether people should protest or not. So they're not even looking at the issues. They're looking at the strength of or the rationale behind the protest. They're not even thinking of, oh, are the having Nigerians really hungry, or is the having Nigeria really hungry, or what's it called, or what are the factors affecting the society that is making individuals clamor for change, and the strength of whatever we are pushing out, whatever the protesters are pushing out. So it's more or less like repetition of what we've been doing since Monday and since Thursday. That or what grounds the Nigerians have to protest or not. So for me, I think what the youth have done, or the protesters have done so far, are is quite commendable, but to an extent, it's still part of poor planning in terms of what's it called, getting a form of media outside the traditional media. But unfortunately, I can't really get grasp of what's it called the contemporary media of where to get the right information from. And still being the popular media, the TVC, the channels, and the like. So I think the media basically are just moving around. They are not really doing anything to improve the situation.
Yeah. Jomonic says that the speaker is making a lot of sense. I think he's referring to you. But he said, but the media has covered both sides well, in his own opinion. That's cool. But that takes me to something else. For me, when I look at the media space, I think it's working in two ways. Like he rightfully said that the media has covered it well, but I think at the end of the day, the media is actually taking things that the people are actually putting on Instagram and other social media platforms. Those are the real things that the medias are actually covering. So this actually shows us that during those times that we would need the television station and the rest of them to really carry information, now we're in the social media space whereby we can get real-time information. So some of them, what they are just doing is they are just rebranding the same thing that has been posted on the internet, and that's what they are still talking about and reading news that is not actually making sense. Because at the end of the day, reading a news to us when we can already see those things on social media, what is the news there? We need to start having discussion. It is out of the discussions we have that when we start thinking as people. We have to rub mind, and I think communication is one of the problems we have today. And Nigerian, if you are reading news, they will not allow you to discuss anything because you cannot read the news and have opinion. So, like Mr. Olubode Adeola pointed out, that it looks as if they are not that effective. So we have to also take this opportunity of the social media space to inform ourselves on the things that are important to us. So that's my take on it. I could be wrong. I can be corrected. Maybe there's something else that I am missing, but I will correct myself. Perhaps I see a different light towards all this old stuff. So that takes me
Yeah.
to what is actually going on. Did you see people on Newcastle, the people in diaspora who are in Newcastle, where they are
No, no.
celebrating, rejoicing, when protest
No,
is actually going on?
I did not see it. I did not see it.
Oh, okay. These people they were just celebrating, and I'm like, your country is going through hard time, and you guys are also posting things. And I think it's the combination of all tribes in Nigeria that are in Newcastle celebrating. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel, what to feel about the whole situation, because sometimes it's like, should you rejoice when people are crying? You know, should you not take your nation serious? Do you think that we are supposed to just destroy ourselves? And the question is this: if perhaps we can destroy ourselves, or we do destroy ourselves, do you think you have a nation to come back to? Because when you look at most real estate organizations in Nigeria specifically, it is the diasporas that are investing, the Nigerians in diasporas that are actually investing in Nigeria mostly. Yes, some of us may cry that the people in diaspora are not doing well enough, but I think they are contributing to the success of Nigeria. And if you can start investing in properties, in real estate, and the rest of it, don't you think that when things go out of hand, it most likely might affect your investments? So, should you be rejoicing when things like this are actually going on? So, I don't know how to feel about it. So, what's your take on such things? How would you have viewed it?
Okay, I think although I did not see the clip, so I might not really make a much more objective what's it called perspective to it. But however, I think from my understanding of what the diaspora actually feel about Nigeria, I think most people really want to come to Nigeria, and then this crisis, potential crisis, not a full crisis, is something that they'll probably rejoice about in terms of say they want. I think the Nigerians in diaspora really want what happened in Kenya to happen in Nigeria. Like in terms of they want a situation where probably the government will only make sincere policy changes, and that is due to chaos everywhere, where the government actually have no control, or no other activity than to say, oh, we are changing our policies, or probably say, oh, we're taking petrol down to 100 naira. We are making sure that rice is being released across at different borders, or so. So I think they are rejoicing in the sense that they want, change to happen at any cost. They don't care how it happens. They just want the change to happen, at any cost. So it's more or less like those that are fully invested in Nigeria are actually clamoring for change. They want change at all costs, at all costs, whether violent or non-violent, they just want change. So I think some of them are actually excited about the prospect of this protest turning out to be something that is profitable to Nigerians and them as well.
Yeah. Apart from them investing in Nigeria, apart from them getting properties and the rest in Nigeria, do you think that the Nigerians in diaspora, do you think there's anything also they can do as people to contribute in educating and informing Nigerians on the right things to do? What's your take on that?
So come again.
I said that the Nigerians in diasporas, do you think apart from them investing in Nigeria, do you think there's other things they can actually do to share information or to educate the Nigerians about the things that we probably don't know?
Yes. So basically, I think what they should, do apart from, investing is to also, which they've been doing, is to also, contribute financially to a much more sustainable cost. Like we said, it's better that we have government position and then them fighting for us through different means than people engaging in on poorly planned protest. So if we have if that are able to sponsor such cause, it will be profitable in the long run. I mean, for instance, for an individual to get elected in the state house of assembly, I mean, you'll be spending close to I don't know how much they spend, but I know you'll be spending more than 100 million naira. And that 100 million cut across buying souvenirs and giving money to whosoever you need to. And of course, would you expect a businessman to just cough up that money and then get into that position and not steal? So we need such funds to take people. I mean, we need funds that can allow a group of individuals to push their presence into government space and then fight for their cause. And I think those in diaspora can actually work towards this and it will be effective.
Yeah, yes. The Nigerians in diaspora has actually been trying. For me, for example, in this estate that we are, the company, the organization, they kind of refuse clearing the bushes in the estate, regardless of the fact that we pay them money for service charge. They don't do anything. But most of the people in diasporas in this estate, for example, they would gather money and they would send it to we in Nigerians that people should just contribute together and clear the bush. They kind of bring the major funds. And with that, it makes the estate kind of make sense. So I think they've been trying really, but I think they have to put certain, if perhaps God provide for them or they have some funds, let them put out things that can support maybe certain Nigerian youth towards going to the political space, and the person with the right mind. But all this has to come up with we debating, having conversations, having seminars, having real discussion. Not that one person will just wake up one day and say that I have a vision and I would make change the whole Nigeria, and then we just look at the person and we just pick the person and put them in power. And the moment they're in power, they just turn upside down. Someone like what did they call her name? This lady that is acting this actress, very that
Was
man
it
talk, Tonto Dike,
okay?
somebody like Tonto Dike, and the rest of it, the way they are actually acting. So it shows exactly we voting people. And in fact, when you look at the life of Tonto Dike, for example, you saw how she was talking to her husband when she divorced the husband, what she was saying about her husband, how she was trying to demoralize that particular individual. And yet, I am just so surprised. I don't know how she got to the position she is. At least she got support from certain individuals. And it's like, are we not seeing people's character before we make a decision to choose these people? Well, let us look at our president right now. Everybody knows the history of this man. You can't go to Google and try to know more of his history, what he has done, what he has been charged for, certain things and all of that. We Nigerians, we know. But it's so surprising that this individual just came into power. But one way or the other, he might not win the election, but in a sense, certain people supported him.
Yeah.
And that shows exactly our mindset. Costa comedians, we are going to be rounding up right now. I'll ask the last questions and then we can close for today. He said, Costa comedian says, how am I doing? I'm doing fine. Thank you very much, Costa comedian. He said, okay, she's just, is it she or he? He's just greeting me and all of that. Thank you very much. We appreciate. For those of us who are still on live, please do subscribe so we can continue having this conversation. Join membership if you can. Support this, support our channel if you can, so we can spread this message. Like and share so we can help the algorithm. So I'll be rounding up with this question. What do you think right now? Two questions. I'm just going to ask you two questions so we can actually round up for today. What do you think is the economic consequence of the protests? Do you think there's going to be do you think that economically, with the things that has actually happened, with people burning a lot of stuff, do you think it's going to affect us economically going in the future? And do you think what is also the fate of Nigerian politicians going forward right now?
Okay, so based on the first question, which is the economic consequences of the protest, I don't think it's really yield any positive economic consequence. It's more or less like a repetition of the current situation. And I think someone went to the market recently and posted on social media and said, despite the protests, things are still what's it called, increasing. Price of goods are still increasing. So basically, what are the protests done? It has not done anything. And even with the stealing and the looting and the likes, I don't think it's going to yield anything. The only thing that could have probably impacted the country economically would have been changes in the policies. And I think the government is trying to like make changes to the policies. I think I saw something about the government removing excise so import duties on imported commodities into the country. Of course, that could reduce the price of goods, of food and the likes. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to yield significant positive impact on on what's it called, on the price of goods. So I've always mentioned something on my Twitter handle, and it has always been, the government needs to look inward. See, these things are issues of policies. It's not a matter of you, what's it called, you sharing palliative or doing some sort of short-term, what's it called, thing. You need to think um, for the long run and then make policy changes. For instance, I was talking about price control, of which the president came out to say he's not going to enforce any price control. I mean, I know Nigerians are individuals that like to exploit others. I'm sorry to say, every Nigerian really wants to take as much as 100% gain on a particular commodity, and then you need to control these things. You need to enforce price control. You need to reduce import duties. You need to reduce what's it called, cost of production in some way. Then the political consequences of this protest, I don't think anything will happen. Except the protests go haywire and certain politicians are being attacked in their houses. And I'm sorry, but I don't hope for that. But if some kind of thing happen, I think that's the way we can really, talk about the political consequences. But except from that, I don't think anything will happen. I think it can even get worse because if this protest ends on the 10th day and nothing happens, I tell you, the what's it called? The senseless spending by the government to continue and might even get worse because I feel all we do is come out to talk. So I think we were talking about Tinubu getting a private jet, and it's part of the agenda and the likes. So if at the end of at the 10 nothing happens, probably the next thing you buy is to buy a private. What can they buy again? You can hardly buy a private
You buy yacht,
condo or something.
yacht, if possible, ship.
He bought that already. He bought a private yacht.
Ah,
I think a private jet. So if I buy something else again, then everybody will keep shouting. Nothing will happen.
wow. What are you optimistic about in for the future of Nigerian youth? What do you think optimistically? What do you think that is our future? Perhaps we can educate and inform ourselves. What are the possible outcomes that you can actually see about this country?
Yeah, the possible outcome, because I've actually realized, I've actually reflected on so many things, and it's as if I'm all negative. I don't want to be all negative because countries that have actually improved, they've actually experienced what we have experienced. I mean, talk of the French Revolution, talk of the American Civil War, or event that that changed the face of capitalism in America, or the event that changed the employment relations in Europe. So if these things had happened in the past, and Nigeria is relatively a young country. I mean, we are still just 60 plus. I mean, things could change in the coming years. If Rwanda could change, Nigeria can change. So the point of positivity will probably come from the fact that we're in the age of technology, and then people can get information faster, and and can get information faster and effectively compared to about 10, 20 years ago. So the current situation of having significant number of Nigerians being poor will change in the future, whether we like it or not. It might be due to, it might be probably when this generation are gone. I'm sorry to say the last generation, the ones that the older stage of life. That person that have gone, and then the new ones, the real new ones are now like available, and the ones that are already enlightened, that you don't even need to go to school before you know what's going on in the country. I think that's when there'll be like a real change and all that.
True, true. I actually agree with all your points, all the points you've made. I'm actually grateful for joining me on today's episode. I am always happy seeing you. I would have loved to ask a few questions also, but I'm just like, okay, let's just round up for today. And so we can have other things to touch on whenever you are chanced also. For those people who are on live, who are watching us live, I really appreciate. People have really been patient. And I think I would believe that you guys are enjoying the conversations we are having. And that's the reason why you're supporting us. Thank you very much. Please do subscribe, like, and you can join membership so we can have a better studio. All these network issues we are always having, so we can improve the
Yeah.
quality of our conversation. And you can always join and contribute to whatever we are discussing about. Probably very soon we will be getting a phone. Some people want to talk to us whenever we are live. Like yesterday when I was having conversation, certain people from other countries, diasporas from Nigeria, wanted to discuss and talk to us through phone. So we would have to make provisions for all these things so we can see how we can work all together. The enlightened one appreciates that we have a good conversation. And I think it is a blessing for we Nigerian youths to start having this kind of conversation rather than dancing and entertaining people, making skits and all of that. We can actually inform ourselves and other people. Thank you very much. Oh, Lighting One is from Los Angeles. I really appreciate you for joining us. Please do subscribe, support us, join membership. And next time, we promise to be coming up with things that are very educative and knowledgeable and enlightened, just like the Enlightened One says. Thank you, Mr. Adiola Ulubode, for joining me today. I appreciate you. Bye
Yeah.
bye for now.
Yeah.
See you
Bye
later.
for now. Yeah.
Yeah.